Hello everybody, welcome to the show! I'm Wolfie Bane, your host for today, and we are back doing another Pokemon tier list today. How day, fantastic time, fantastic evening, and a fantastic life right now. Everybody, I'm back. I'm here and ready to play, or at least talk about some video games. Hey, hope you're all having a lovely, lovely time and a wonderful, wonderful day today. I'm having an alright one, myself. Mostly spent just sorting shit out and chatting with friends, honestly. Nothing too crazy has happened today. It is, after all, around Christmas time, so things are just a little bit relaxed for the moment, honestly. And obviously this is one of the last two Pokemon tier lists for the year. Next week's we're ending on a fun one, honestly. Yeah. Next week's one is going to be damn good. We are going to be doing some fun, which I will announce at the end of the stream. Where's my fucking drink gone? There it is. But it's going to be a good time doing this one, so it should still be very, very fun. Oh, I've also got something fun planned for tomorrow. And Wednesday, honestly, because Wednesday is, obviously Christmas Day. I hope you all got your presents for your family members and everything else. You better. You better. Yeah, but for me, honestly, I've been very busy because last night I ordered all my PC parts. The first one has showed up already. Thank you, Amazon Prime. For one part, which is one of like 3 parts I ordered on Amazon, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. All the rest is going from Scan. It's actually meant I've had to change my Christmas plans a bit because most of them are turning up tomorrow. I won't be building it tomorrow, by the way. I'm waiting for all the parts to be here before I start building. Obviously, I should, right? It seems smart to me. Don't open any boxes up and get dust in them, right? And the monitor and I believe the operating system is showing up tomorrow because I'm getting a new operating system key, basically. I don't know where the fuck this one's is. So yeah, we're coming to the end of this beloved PC, so I'll have to do a lot of setup again to get everything set up. So I might take a couple days off when it's here and built, essentially. So potentially do expect like a day or 2 off for me to basically just get the PC sorted, hopefully, and it should be all fine. Knock on wood. No, but I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to playing some more, I wouldn't say entertaining, but some more intensive games than just Hollow Cure and Pokemon. All right, we got to get something going. So I'm very, very excited for that. We're going to be playing a bunch of games that we had started bits for in playthroughs but just didn't work. Like I want to play Red Dead 2, I want to play Necromunda, Hired Gun, that sounds gonna be a fun one. And stuff like that, right? Anyway, let us get started. So we're doing a Paradox Mon and Ultrabeasts tier list. I'm quite a fan of all of them, really. I don't think there's not many I really dislike. They're all good. Like, obviously, everything on this list is at least usable. Look at you, Screamtail. I love Screamtail. It's not great, but it's cool, right? There's something just about a Jigglypuff that screams in angry. The angry Jigglypuff, which is very, very cool. Yeah, so we're going to be ranking all of them entirely on just how much I like them, on their vibes, and how awesome they are. And generally, and this is the best tier list I could find because technically Lunala and Solgaleo are also Ultra Beasts. But it didn't count them on this list for some reason. Which is kind of a bitch. So we'll be using the Necrozma forms, probably. Actually, wait a minute, can I get... No, I don't think I can get pictures of them up, which is unfortunate. I guess they're technically different, I don't know. I don't know crazy amount on the lore for them. But anyway, let's get started, shall we? So, as obviously on one of my tier lists, we've got S through D tier. There's no E tiers on this particular setup because none of these are that bad. Even the worst is pretty cool, right? So these will be based on how they work, how they vibe with me, how much I hate them generally, if I think it's a cool design, you know, the whole shebang, right? And whether I think, in certain cases, in cases at least the paradoxes, I'll be comparing them to their originals as well. In a lot of cases. I will say, not in every case, but in most of the cases. Yeah. Because I'm a big fan of... God, there are a couple of paradoxes I don't like. But... And there's a couple of Ultrabeasts I'm not a huge fan of. But they're all cool to a degree, right? Do I think the other ones should have been taken by different Pokemon? In cases of some of the paradoxes? Yes, I will state this right now. I think some of the paradox mons should have been different mons. Should have been given the opportunity. But hey, we'll figure out what we go, right? So, starting off strong with Necrozma. Base form Necrozma, who I have used. I kind of like Necrozma. It's not one of my biggest, oh, I love this Pokemon. I kind of know a lot of people do. It's still a really cool mon, like the darkness. He's got the big claws, which I do like. It's a vibe, right? His ability's pretty cool, because I think it's Prism Armor, so it's just, you take less damage from super effective. Pretty sick. I like his design. I know a lot of people don't like... I've talked about this before. In a lot of cases, jagged, spiky design of, like, loads of spikes doesn't necessarily always have the, like, yeah, this is a cool one. This one, I kind of dig it, honestly. I do like the spikiness of Necrozma. It makes sense with what it is, right? Like, obviously, when I've talked about spiky mons before, I'll bring up, like, Zapdos, Jolteon to a degree, although I still like Jolteon a lot because it's still an evolution. So it's still S tier immediately. But I'll talk regularly, like, I'll bash on Zapdos because spiky. But Zapdos just kind of sucks as a design to me. I know that people love Zapdos. I don't. I don't like how Zapdos looks. I think Zapdos looks dumb. Galarian Zapdos looks peak. Looks great. But regular Zapdos... I'm sorry. So that's why it's, I think, too spiky. But with Necrozma, it's kind of like an armor-plated kind of spiky design. It looks like... it looks kind of like a machine. Right? Or some abstract creature. Which is what it's supposed to be, right? It's an alien. Or an alternate dimension beast. What the fuck are they called? Is it an alien? If it's from a different dimension and not space? Oh, fucking no. I guess it might be from space. Necrozma, like, eats universes or something like that, doesn't it? I don't fucking know. But yeah. Base form, regular Necrozma, I think, is pretty damn cool. I won't put it as... Where did I put this? It's definitely not S tier. It's not even close to S tier. Is it A tier? I do like it. But do I like it that much? Or do I put it in B? I think it's a high B. I think regular Necrozma is a high B. It's not that good. Weirdly. It's alright. You can make it work. It's just... Its stats are okay. Its abilities are... Its moves are pretty good. And... It's good, right? If it's a bit... Meh. You have to put a bit of effort in to make it work. I'd say. But it is a fun mon to use. I do like it. I ran it with Power Herb Meteor Beam. Was, I believe, my build for it. Which I found very fun. So yeah, you can make it work, but it's only so good. Duskmane Necrozma. I do like Duskmane Necrozma. I've talked before regularly, I prefer the original forms of Solgaleo and Lunala to their Necrozma forms. I'll talk about, I've outright said that before. That I do think they're very, very cool. the Necrozma forms. But Solgaleo is great. Lunala is one of my favorite legendaries. I really love Lunala. So, with that in mind, I do really like Duskmane Necrozma. The giant, like, glowing space lion is pretty sick. But we're doing this on the list of these Pokemon, so I'm going to be comparing them to themselves, right? They're compared to the other Paradoxes and the other Ultra Beasts, which are a very high bar, right? So with that in mind, I do genuinely really like Duskmane Necrozma. It is really cool, the giant space lion, but it's only getting A tier. Now, I will say, it's a high A tier. It's close to being S, but it's not quite there. I do like it, I know it's great, but there are other ones I prefer to it. Bear in mind, if Solgaleo was on this list, Solgaleo would be S tier. I think it is a... I don't like Duskmane Necrozma anywhere near as much as I like Solgaleo. I think Solgaleo's design is very sleek around. Duskmane Necrozma I don't think works that well. However, I will say, Dawnwings Necrozma, that's a different story. Now, I've said I like Dawnwings a lot more. Obviously, I like Lunala a lot more than I like Solgaleo. I've talked about this regularly. Lunala is one of my favorite legendaries. I talked about this in the legendary video. I talked about this in the ghost and the psychic video, I think, as well. I am a huge fan of Lunala. I have used Lunala a lot before. In Ubers, it's one of my favorite Pokemon to use in Ubers. If you know how to use it, you can absolutely fucking devastate people with the mod. I haven't particularly used Dawnwings, I will say. Dawnwings is still good, obviously, but it's not the coolest of them. It's very, very cool. Obviously, it's great. Lunala's design is just peak, just outright. The Dawnwings does detract from it, but it's still a great design. It's still a comfortable S tier. But if Lunala was on here, Lunala would be one of the contenders for the absolute best of the best of the best S tier slot. This one, Dawnwings, is still an S tier. I will state that. It's still an S tier, and it's a good S tier. But it's not going to be one of the best S tiers. I have a few mons that I know are going to be above it. So as much as I do love it, I do love Dawnwings. It's not Lunala. So, Ultra Necrozma, I have a soft spot for. I think Ultra Necrozma is a really cool design. I like that it changes so dramatically from regular Necrozma. Obviously, I'm a sucker for dragons as well. And it is giant gold glowing dragon. I also find a cool bit of lore. If you actually look at regular Necrozma, you can't really see it on this picture because it's quite small. But if you look at regular Necrozma, you can actually see it's got a dragon head in its form. I think it's like downwards or something. I saw a video on it the other day, just idly, like, going through shorts, honestly. It was after a short about ramen. Not kidding. It was just on my list, just after a ramen short. I was very hungry. I'm having ramen for dinner tonight, actually. I'm going to homemake some. But yes, off topic. There you can actually see all the parts in Ultra Necrozma in Necrozma. You can also see all the parts of Ultra Necrozma in like Ultra Necrozma is actually in the Ultra Sun Ultra Moon background art. Like if you put the two boxes next to each other, you can actually see Ultra Necrozma like in the middle hidden. He's producing all the light. Detractor from Ultra Necrozma though, it's not technically its own Pokemon. It's technically a form that you turn into. So it's its own Pokemon that it turns into after you use a Z move. After you use Light That Burns the Sky. Which is a really sick name for a move, by the way. It's so cool. But yeah, Ultra Necrozma is also S tier. I'm a huge fan of the big gold dragon. It always reminded me of a Digimon as well. And I'm a big fan of Digimon. Back in the day. So, yeah. I do like Ultra Necrozma a lot. It is one of the most powerful Pokemon ever as well. its stat line is up there with some of the real powerhouses like Mega Rayquaza and Arceus and things like that. It's in the top weight class. I believe it's got higher stat total than Kyurem Black or White, if memory serves. Here we go. Yeah. Ultra Necrozma has a base stat total of 754, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half mons stronger than it. I say a half because one of them is Eternamax Eternatus, which isn't a usable Pokemon, so it's kind of a weird one. But the ones that beat it are obviously that beat it legit are obviously Mega Rayquaza, Mega Mewtwo's, both of them, which are 2 mons, Primal Kyogre, and Primal Groudon. And then just after them is Ultra Necrozma. It is 34 points higher than Arceus, and 46 points. I think that's math. Is that math higher than Complete Form Zygarde? Which, by the way, weird point. All those are all the mons over 700 base stat total. Everything else is 700 or below. Which is the Mega Latis, the Mega Pseudos, Zacian and Zamazenta when they're crown form, Mega Diancie, Giga Terapagos. Oh, Eternatus. I didn't know Eternatus was 690. Good to know. 690 base stat total, and it is not as what was I gonna say? My brain died. Apologies. Oh, yeah, it's got the same cat trait as Caterpie. That's what I was gonna say. Anyway, I believe this one is Nihilego. I believe the little jellyfish. I kind of like this thing, honestly. It's a weird one. I haven't played regular Sun and Moon. I believe this mon takes a big place in regular Sun and Moon. It might take a big place in Ultra as well. I don't know. I didn't get that far. I think in regular, this thing fuses with Lily's mom, I think. And she turns into some sort of crazy, insane laser shooting Pokemon lady. There we go. Sorry, it's stuck in my teeth. Sorry, it's pushing me off. I think I got it. Yeah, I got it. Okay. I think it's kind of alright. It's Poison Rock, which I think is a fun typing. Not great typing. Not a terrible one either, though. It dies to ground, obviously, but a lot of things die to ground. I love that it gets head smash, I'm pretty sure, as well. That it's a giant jellyfish that gets head smashed for some bizarre reason. But it's pretty cool. I kind of like its design. It's got a vibe. It's a weird vibe. I also kind of like that it's hard to tell what type it is. It doesn't look like its type in any way. Which I think it's like... It perfectly exemplifies what an Ultra Beast should be. If that makes sense. The Ultra Beasts are supposed to be weird. Right? That's like the whole point. I think all their stat totals... Their stat totals I know are weird as well. Like, they've all got very specific numbers for their stat totals. Which makes them kind of interesting. And they're designed to be just very, very strange Pokemons. The Ultra Beasts, in general, are a bit weird. And this one pretty much is... How do you get much weirder than floating rock, poison, jellyfish thing? Also, I think there needs to be more jellyfish Pokemon in general, because there are a few, and they're very cool, but I like jellyfish, you know? I'd love to see a box jellyfish, if that makes sense. I want it to be like an I've been saying for ages, I want an Australia Pokemon region. I think that would just be really, really cool. And if we got an Australia bit like themed Pokemon region, I think we would get like a fighting poison jellyfish. That could be kind of cool, right? For a box jellyfish, like a actual boxing jellyfish. I think that'd be pretty funny. So, but as for it, it's okay. I believe it. I've got to get its name right? One moment. Ultrabeasts. I'm pretty sure it's Nihilego, but I could very well be wrong. I'm not the best at the Ultra Beasts because I haven't used them that much. Yeah, it is Nihilego. Okay, I was right. But it's pretty cool. I will give it... Looking at the rest of this list, I think it's about average. So I'm going to give it a C, but that's a tentative. It's getting close to a B. Like, I think that's an alright one. Buzzwole! Johnny Bravo bug. I think Johnny Bravo bug is pretty sweet. I'm gonna be honest. I do like it a lot. The legs kind of detract from it, though. I like the huge arms. I think that's pretty cool. The head, I know what they were going for with a mosquito-y kind of look. It's like buff mosquito, right? Which is cool. Like, it is a vibe, and it's a very... It's the Paradox. It's the Ultra Beast, right? It is the Ultra Beast. If most people think Ultra Beast, this is one of the ones that I'd say is the bet for. This is the Ultra Beast you're thinking of. It's very unique. It's weird looking. I want to see this thing fight a Machamp. I'm not kidding. I want to see that brawl. Just, I think you can do that in Pokemon Unite, because they are both in the game. So, it's cool. It's a fun vibe. Bug fighting, which I'm not usually the biggest bug fighting type fan, but it is one of the cool ones. I actually like both the bug fighting types of the Ultra Beasts, I'm going to be honest. I've just realized there are 3 bug fighting types on this list. That's weird to think about. But I do like it. I think it's very cool. I don't think it's an S tier, though. Buzzwole is great. I will only give it an A tier, but it's higher than... Actually, is it higher? No. It's also very, very high A tier, but I don't think it's an S tier. Unfortunately. Sorry, Buzzwole. You're great. You are very cool. I've never particularly used it. I used it a little bit in Poké Rogue, but that's about it. It's just, you know, kind of a cool mom. Pheromosa! Okay. People didn't know, Pheromosa is one of my favorite Ultra Beasts. Hell, it's one of my favorite bug types. I think I gave this thing a glowing review in bug types. Matarakan, as I like to call this one, because honestly, it looks like the VTuber Matarakan. Honestly, if you go and look up the VTuber, who is great, by the way, they're really, really cool to watch. They are very entertaining. They also seem like a really, really nice person, which is also a massive plus for me. But Pheromosa has always been just really, really cool for me. I think it is a pretty fucking sweet mon. Generally. It's very fast, obviously. It hits like a truck. Has no durability whatsoever. There's nothing wrong with that. I think its moveset's kind of bad, is the one thing. I don't think Pheromosa have particularly good moves. So, yeah. I know she's crazy good, but she's kind of got the Deoxys thing, where she hits really, really hard and she's super fast, but she's got no durability, so there's only so much you can do with her. Although she will keep getting faster and faster and faster and faster and faster the more she takes out, so she will always outspeed. Unless you're up against some of the really fast mons, which hilariously on this list are some of the mons that actively outspeed her, just outright. Unless you get like a real start ramping up, but she's crazy, crazy fast. I actually don't know how fast she is. I know that her main thing is speed, though. I want to say she might be 150, something like that. She might be Deoxys speed. 151, she's faster than Deoxys. Outside of Deoxys speed, of course. But yeah, I do really like Pheromosa, though. Pheromosa is... Yeah, I'd say she might be my favorite Ultra Beast. So, she actually beat out a Dragon type. Congrats, because that's not easy to do in my tier lists. But yeah, I really like Pheromosa. Pheromosa's probably my favorite Ultra Beast. It's between 2, actually. It is definitely between 2. But she's definitely the best Ultra Beast that I like. Because the other one's really bad. I love him, but he's really bad. Xurkitree, I'm going to be honest. I know circuitry is really powerful, right? But I like what it is as a concept, right? I like its stats. I like its moves. It's very powerful. I've been used. This thing's been used against me a lot, and I don't mind it. It always does some work, but I've never been particularly. It's never been the worry that I have gone to lose a game because of it. It's definitely contributed to a victory, right? It's a very scary mod. What the hell is happening? Oh, yeah. But yeah, circuitry's alright, but it's not for me. It's really not for me. I don't mind. The design's not good. It's not an E tier. That's the main thing. Nothing on this list was an E tier, but I kind of dislike it. So I will. I don't really like it, so I'll put it in D. It's not ideal. But I mean, it's a fucking bundle of wires. What am I gonna do? And also, yes, I know people are gonna say, "Oh, electric type, he's biased against electric types." Yes. I am biased against electric types, but there are some electric types on this list which are very, 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 very cool. There actually are two, actually 3 of my favorite electric types are on this list. 4, I think, actually. I think there are 4 of what I rated on electric types in S tier of their respective type. So, there are some good electric types, and most of them are on this list. So, don't give me shit for this. I'm just not a big Xerxes fan. Genuinely. It's not for me. However, I will say, Celesteela, I love Celesteela. Celesteela is another argument for one of my favorites. I didn't really like it because I didn't understand what it was. Then I realized that the spire in the center of Celesteela is actually like a girl. That's what it looks like. It's like a person shape, which is kind of cool. And I saw it from that perspective. It's like, oh, that's what they were going for. It's like a lady in a dress. Is I think what the vibe they were going for. Obviously, big rocket tower, skyscraper kind of thing, right? Very blatant. Huge mod as well. One of the biggest mods. And the joint heaviest mod, I think, ever. Which is pretty sick. But yeah, I really like Celesteela. Celesteela is one. I've wanted to use this mod more. So I'm actually putting it above Pheromosa. I really like Celesteela. One of my favorite Ultra Beasts. Very respectable. I obviously also am a huge sucker for steel flying types, right? Celesteela is awesome. People know how much I love Corviknight. Corviknight is one of my mainstay Pokemon that I like to use just generally. And Celesteela is another great mod in its own right. I'm not as big a fan of Skarmory as the other two, but it's not detracting from the type at all. I don't mind Skarmory. Skarmory's pretty cool. But Celesteela and Corviknight are significantly above that. Okay. Kartana, I do love Kartana. Kartana, the origami razor blade paper thing. I like Kartana. Genuinely. I think it's cool. One of the highest attacks in Pokemon. I think it might actually be the second highest. It's not the highest. I know the highest is Mega Heracross. But it's one of the highest attack Pokemon in existence with, I believe, 181 attack. Which is, I think, higher than Mega Mewtwo, actually. I need to check this. Kartana's got 181, yeah. .181, and Mewtwo X has, I want to say 170. Oh, no, actually, it's lower than Mega Mewtwo. I thought Mega Mewtwo had less than that. Huh. I thought it had less than that. It's got less than Mega Mewtwo. We must Mega Heracross. 'Cause I thought Mega Heracross was the highest. No, Mega Mewtwo X has higher than Mega Heracross. Okay. Weird. Is Mega Mewtwo X the highest? One moment. Pokemon. Yeah, Mega Mewtwo X has 190, which is the highest. Mega Heracross is second. Kartana is third. Kartana's the third highest attack stat. Then Deoxys. Then it's actually, yeah, Deoxys attack, Primal Groudon, and Mega Rayquaza are all tied after that. Incidentally enough, Mega Garchomp actually on the list. Like, it's one of the things. Mega Garchomp does have very, very good attack. Genuinely, I'll say this again to Game Freak. Please, 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 please. Edit Mega Garchomp stats so it has more speed, please. Just make it 112, please. That's all we ask. Or even 105. Like, cut out a bit of that special attack that it's never going to use. And give it some speed. Come on. Please. It doesn't have to be crazy. Just make it regular Garchomp speed. Please. It needs to be. It's not broken. It would not be broken at all. It would be very good, yes, but it would not be broken. Yeah. But anyway, Kartana's great. I will comfortably give Kartana S tier. Kartana deserves S tier. Not as high as the other S tiers so far. But it is definitely an S tier mod. I do love it. It's really cool. It's always cool to just imagine what it does. Because it's supposed to cut through anything, pretty much. Which is kind of crazy, right? Just how vicious the thing would be. It's got no defense. Particularly no special defense. And with Grass Steel, it's got a good typing. But obviously, big weakness to fire. As you'd expect. So. Ah! Yeah. Guzzlord. Everyone loves Guzzlord. It is really, 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 really cool. I love it. It's terrible. Guzzlord is not a good mod. I have made it work. I have definitely made Guzzlord work, and he's pretty fun. But he's not good. He is not very good. But he's very fun to use, and I'm always happy to use him. He's just an enjoyable mod. He's very tough. You can make him quite bulky. Unfortunately, Dragon Dark isn't a good type combo anymore. It used to be amazing. Not anymore, though. Because Fairy exists. And he's slow with low defense. Very high health. Definitely very high health. And respectable attack. Nothing crazy. I think I got like 106 attack. Which is fine. You can make do. Particularly because you're probably going to be boosting attack with Beast Boost if you actually kill something. So, you can make him work. I tended to play him because he was actually on my gym leader team. Because I just wanted to use Guzzlord. He was on my gym leader team for the gym leader challenge. Which, by the way, one of the new challenges is going to start in the new year. We are going to be doing... excuse me. We are doing the monotype run for Johto. It has... The original roles have started for them. We have... the first 4 players who finished have their starters assigned. We know what they're going to be. So yeah, do look forward to that in the new year. I got screwed. I got a great type in a good region to get the type. Unfortunately, my starter, while a great mon, is very bad in this particular challenge because we're not going to post-game and MMOs, Pokemon's level caps will be a problem. Let's just say that. I got Dark type in Johto, which is a great place to get Dark type, don't get me wrong. Unfortunately, my starter is Dino, which is bad because it means I'm stuck with a Dino until the Elite Four. And then I'm stuck with a Zweilous for the Elite Four, and I can never get a Hydreigon in the place because we are not high enough level, basically. Hydreigon, I would be rocking it if they upped the level caps in Pokemon to allow any Pokemon to evolve for that. I would be so happy. High Dragon is an absolute behemoth in Gen 5 and below. Unfortunately, Dino's not very good. But hey, we'll figure out what we can do. And I will be getting, so I will eventually get a Tyrannosaurus. I'm going to have a rough time in MMO, though, for a while. I'll have Dragon Rage, which will be nice. I will have a Dragon Rage mon, which is on its own very good, but it's the only thing I've really got on my team that's useful. It takes me a little while to get more Dark types as well. I think the first one is like Murkrow or something. But hey, we'll figure it out. It should be fun, at least. The other types that have been picked so far are Fire type, which we were actually very happy to see Fire type because the person who got it, their favorite Pokemon is Typhlosion, and it's obviously we're forced to get the Fire the starters if you are of one of the main types, so they end up with Fire and they end up with their favorite starter, which is just nice, you know. Other than that, we had one person get Bug, and they did roll lucky on what their starter is. They got Venipede as their starter. Which is the only good starter for reference in the bug type list. So cool that cool that they pulled it. And the other person that we had rolled Water. So they're very set because I actually wanted Water. Water and Rock were the two types I actively wanted for Johto. But I'm not upset about getting Dark, because I get Tyranitar, and Tyranitar was the main reason I wanted Rock to begin with. So. But anyway, yes, Guzzlord. Back to the tier list. I love Guzzlord. He's not very good, but he's got a sick design, a really fun scream. Also, great voice actor, because the voice actor who plays him who does Guzzlord scream in the dub, I believe is the guy that plays Natsu in Fairy Tail, which is always fun. Poipol's cute. That's all I can really give. I have no strong feelings about this thing, particularly, but I think it's very, 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 very cute, and it's a little poison dragon. It's adorable. And it turns into a really cool one. It's got a great color scheme. Generally, I like the purple color scheme with the glowing eyes. I think it just works. Naganadel, I think, is also pretty sick. I do like it a lot. I'd say about there. I do really like it. I think it's got a sweet design. Like, kind of wasp dragon vibe. Hell yeah. I also love it shiny. They're like Yellow Jacket looking shiny. It does work very well. Also very cool to use. This mod is actually very, very fun. It's slower than you'd think, which is an interesting bit. Then this one's fairly fast, but it looks like it'd be a billion speed. It's 121, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But also got lower stats than you'd think, honestly. But it's still a very cool mon, very powerful, obviously, and great. And it's a dragon, so always on the point. Stack Attacker, I like Stack Attacker as well. Stack Attacker is a very, very coal mon. I love that it's made up of lots of little blocks. It's also huge, which I think is fun. It's very cool to see. It's obviously Steel Rock, which is a type I'm fond of, as bad as it is. But I do quite like it. I think it's a very fun mon. I like that it's got a weird gimmick that it takes to get good attack as well. So for the thing about Stack Attacker, which is quite famous about it, is it's one of the Pokemon that you can get Beast Boost attack on, but it's really difficult because its defense is so absurdly high compared to its attack that you need to, like, run, not just, like, you need to run almost complete minimum 0 defense with a defense decreasing nature for it to actually start getting attack boosts, which is kind of cool in my mind. And I particularly would use this mon. It's a Trick Room mon, right? But it's very strong on a Trick Room team, and I think that it deserves at least a B tier, a high B tier. Don't think it deserves A, but I do like it a lot. Blacephalon, I'm gonna be honest, I don't like Blacephalon. I've tried coming around to it. I just don't like this thing. It's It's not got a great design, in my personal opinion, at least. Ghostfire's a cool typing, but it's a weird one. Its signature move just blows its own head up, which is a cool vibe, I guess. But not for me. I'm sorry. Don't really like it. Don't really like it. I have the Paradox ones. People know since I'm a huge fan of Scarvi, I'm a big Scarvi fan. I love the Paradox mods. Some of the Paradox mods I like significantly more than others, though. I have not made it any hide at all that I think the prehistoric Paradox mods are, in every case, barring a couple, better than the future mods. I have not made any hiding that I dislike the future mods significantly more than the past mods. That being said, there are a couple of the past mods. There are a couple of past mods which are worse than some of the futures. I just think that most of the future mods are okay to good, with one, conspicuously one, being awful. Well, not awful, but being bad. But they're only various levels of... they're good. There's only one which I'd consider outstanding of the future Paradox mods. And there's a few greats, right? Unfortunately, the past Paradox mods have a couple of god tier cool mods. And a few, these are great. And then one absolute garbage beyond imagining is probably the worst Paradox one in my personal opinion. But yeah, let's start off with a really good one. Great Tusk, probably my favourite fighting type. That's a good bet. I can't think of one offhand which I like more. There's a few maybe that can compete, but I really like Great Tusk. Great Tusk is such a cool mon. They literally took Donphan, who's already a pretty good mon. Like, I think I gave Donphan on his own an A tier, which is a very respectable spot, right? Donphan is just cool. It's a classic. The first mon that most people knew that wasn't of the original 151, which is really big. But Great Tusk just takes Donphan as a base and then makes it so much better. And that's the big key point. I'm going to be ranking the Paradoxes, obviously, as themselves, as standalone, but also I'm going to review them, basically, compared to what their original form was. Right? For me personally, by the way, I will state, with the past Paradox mods, there are two which are worse than original forms, in my mind. One, which is a tie, and all the rest are superior. With the future Paradox mods, there is, 3 which are superior to their originals, and all the rest are worse than originals, but in some cases they're at least respectable. Right? Yeah, Great Tusk is an immediate S tier. One of the best Paradox mods. One of my 3 favourite Paradox mods, as a matter of fact. All 3 of them, it's well known, are past Paradoxes, by the way. But Great Tusk, he is the poster child of Paradox mods for a reason. They know they nailed it with its design. They did. It's got dinosaur, it's got mammoth. It looks primordial. That's all I can really describe it as. It looks primordial. It looks exactly what you want. It's got some dinosaur aspects. It's also got the mammal aspects of a mammoth, obviously, because it's based on a big mammoth monster. It just looks great. It is Leviathan. It is Behemoth, right? It is the exemplification of a behemoth. And I love it. Great mod, fantastic moveset as well. One of the best Paradox ones to use competitively as well. It just works so well. Okay. Screamtail. I talked about this at the start of the stream. I love Screamtail. It's probably the worst Paradox mod in terms of, is it good competitively? No. Not at all. It's really bad competitively. But I love the design and I love the lore. It's literally an aggressive, like, homicidally insane Jigglypuff, basically. It's like primordial. It's really big compared to Jigglypuff as well. It's thick mon, honestly. You can actually make it do some good work as well. I've actually run Screamtail a couple of times. Just fucking around, mostly. You can certainly make it work. It takes a lot of effort to be good. I will definitely say that. But you can actually make it good in a offensive way. It's better as a defensive one. I will say that. But I personally kind of don't mind using it as like a bit of an offensive one. It gets great moves. It just does not have good offensive stats. But if you really spec into it, it can kind of have some good work, honestly. I'm kind of honestly thinking what I would do on a Sun team. Like, make it a little bit bulky so that it's special attack. Like, crank its special attack to the absolute max. Give it a booster energy or just run it on a Sun team. And then, like, put its speed up a little bit. Like, its speed up just so it will always get special attack up from the boost. But it still want to be as fast as possible. And then just see how it goes, right? And everything else just into durability. I think it could be quite good because it's got some great moves. It's very supporty mon as well. It's good. I love it. I will comfortably give it A tier. I think A tier, about in the middle of what we've currently got. I think I like it a little bit more than Johnny Bravo Bug. But it is just cool. Okay. Brute Bonnet. I like Brute Bonnet. I'm not the biggest Among Us fan, I will say. I don't hate it. Among Us is just alright to me. I don't have particularly strong feelings about it. I don't hate it as much as a lot of people do. Because it's a Spore user. I do think Spore needs a bit of a nerf, but It's a tactic, right? And it is also a Spore user itself, but it's actually got some power, which I kind of like. Obviously, Bug destroys this thing because it's a Grass Dark type. You usually are running some Bug moves pretty much exclusively U-turn, but nearly every team runs U-turn. I don't actually run it on my main team. Mostly because I just don't have anyone that I want to learn it who it's useful for, really. The move's great, obviously. I'd love to run it. But with what I've got on the team, in my actual competitive team, I just can't really fit it on anybody. I think the only one that can particularly learn it that it would be great on, I actually need all 4 moves. That's the mod that I wish I had 6 moves on. Because I think Corviknight can learn U-turn, but unfortunately my Corviknight set needs all 4 moves. Yeah, it's also set up. It's set up Corviknight, obviously. Yeah, Brute Bonnet's great. I do like it a lot. It's sturdy, that's the thing. It's like a chunky little attacker. I also love this little dinosaur that looks like a mushroom. I kind of vibe with that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big dinosaur fan, obviously. It's got a great name. I love that it punches shit as well. It also has the vibe that I've said I like this in a few videos. I like really slow mons with high attack that get priority. I just like them. I think they're cool. Like, I love King Gambit. I love Raging Bolt, who's later on this list. I love, obviously, my Mawile and my Baxcalibur. I'm known to run slow, sturdy, high-attack mons with priority moves. And Brute Bonnet is one of those good ones, because it's got Sucker Punch. Stab Sucker Punch from a Brute Bonnet with a very good attack stat. Oh, yeah, I can vibe with that. I don't like running Trick Room, for reference, as well. But I do like running those type of mons. Which is why I think my teams are usually kind of resilient to Trick Room. Because my mons aren't super fast in most cases. Some of them are super fast, but I like to run some heavyweights as well that aren't particularly fast. Yeah, they're not super slow, but as I said, people saw that on my old single team. Very regularly, I would run Ursaluna just outright, not in a Trick Room team in any way. I would just run an Ursaluna because I like them on. So it was resilient to it. It was resilient to Trick Room because it's a Trick Room mon itself, but it's just powerful, right? And that kind of works with Brute Bonnet as well. You can run it in a Trick Room team, and it's very good. You can also run it on a non-Trick Room team because it's just a pretty decent mon. It's not one of the best, and you can definitely run a lot better. But it is very, very good. I will give Brute Bonnet... Is it another A tier? I think it is. Definitely lower than Screamtail. I like Screamtail more. I think I like Johnny Bravo Bug more, but I do like it. I think it's comfy A tier. By far my most used Paradox mod. Hey, Alpha Bar. I love Elphaba so much. Elphaba, my Flutter main. One of my favorite Pokemon, honestly, who's come out in recent years. One of my favorite Gen 9 Pokemon, just outright. Maybe my favorite Paradox. Also, funny point about Fluttermane. Fluttermane, I got a shiny Fluttermane in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet before I finished the game. I was actively just wandering around looking for a Roaring Moon. Roaring Moon didn't spawn for ages. In the cave that you get Roaring Moons, obviously. I had triggered the event. Actually, no. I'd been down there, but you had to open the door. I thought you had to just trigger the thing before you open the door to get Roaring Moon to spawn. Because I was told you have to go to the bottom and then it'll spawn. But you can get it before post-game. I'd seen that. So I went, oh, okay then. I will go down there. And catch it and then get it for the future, because I kind of want it now. Turns out there was like one stage later, which I had to do. I had to do like one fight further than I actually had done already. But with that, in the same cave, you can find Fluttermane. And I was just seeing Fluttermanes. I caught one immediately because, oh, it's Fluttermane, I love Fluttermane. And then I got a shiny one that just spawned really quickly. I was like, ha! So, Elphaba, my shiny Fluttermane, was on my team that beat the first DLC of Scarvi. Also, Elphaba, my Fluttermane, actually got me my Rayquaza on the current event that's going on in Scarvi, which I recommend going and checking out because you can just get a Rayquaza. It's a shiny Rayquaza. What are you doing? Why are you still here? No, stay in the video. Go immediately afterwards, after I finish streaming today, then go and get yourself a shiny Rayquaza. You'll thank me later. But yeah, I did get it with my Fluttermane, my level 85 Fluttermane. Comfortably did it, with some randoms. I had a Sylveon, 2 Sylveons, and a Megiana. But I'm a huge Fluttermane fan. Fluttermane, great mod. Beautiful design as well. I like Miss Magius. Don't get me wrong. I've talked about this before, actually, on the Ghost tier list. I do like Miss Magius. But I like the design of Miss Magus better. Right? Oh, Misdreavus. I like Misdreavus, sorry. Better. I like the design better. I think it's an adorable design with a great color scheme. I don't mind Miss Magius's design. I think it's a very cool, like, witchy design. It does make sense as a follow-on. But it doesn't quite have the same charm, you know? As Misdreavus does. Fluttermane has the power and looks of a fully evolved Pokemon, but also keeps the same feel as Misdreavus. It feels like it should be the actual evolution. And I really hope Fluttermane does keep coming back, but Fluttermane's broken. Let's be perfectly honest here. Fluttermane is the single most powerful Paradox Pokemon of the lot. Arguably the strongest Pokemon on this entire list. And that's including the legendaries. You could make a case that Fluttermane is more powerful than anything else on this list. The arguments would be the Necrozmas. That's like it. I don't think otherwise it's even close. There are certainly ones on this list that could beat Fluttermane in a 1v1, but I don't think they're going to ever do as much. And obviously, everyone knows I love running Fluttermane. Elphaba is actually on my main team in Showdown. My Fluttermane, my max special attack, max speed, timid nature, choice specs Fluttermane, who turns most opponents into mulch. An absolute nightmare, as expected. But I do genuinely love Fluttermane. It's a really good mon, an absolute star, brilliant design. Yes, it's a little overpowered, but sometimes it just kind of works, right? It's also a really interesting typing. Ghost Fairy is a really cool type combo as well. I also love its stats. It's actually one of the few ones I can remember the stats off by heart, because it's 55, 55, 55 in the top 3 stats, which are health, attack, and defense, and 135, 135, 135 in its other 3 stats, which are its special attack, special defense, and speed. It's very fast, it hits very hard, it dies to physical. Hey, Shepherd Dariel, how you doing? Yeah, I do love Fluttermane a lot, though. Happy Monday! Okay. Next up is Slitherwing, the dino bug itself. Again, the 3rd fighting bug. The 3rd fighting bug on this list. I'm doing alright. Which is entertaining. I just don't know why. It's going good. I'm having a nice relaxing day. Anyway. Yes, so, Slitherwings. Great mon. I will say... Oh, thank you. Other projects went well. Slitherwing, I'm gonna be honest. It's worse than Volcarona, right? Let's get that out of the way right then and there. I love Slitherwing. Do not get me wrong, but Volcarona is my favorite bug type, right? It's hard to argue with the perfection that is Volcarona. However, Slitherwing is a really cool go at it. I don't think it's a bad mon in terms of vibes. It's an okay mon in terms of power. Like, you can make it work, but it's kind of one of those, you have to kind of make it work. Which is the whole bit. Don't know where the fuck they came up with the idea of this mon, by the way. It's a very interesting concept that they went for. Dinosaur bug that stands up and punches things. It's a really weird choice, but it's kind of cool. That is not relevant to the stream. But yeah. Slitherwing is very cool. Fighting bug, which is an interesting type. There's not many. There's what? Heracross and Mega Heracross, I suppose. There is Pheromosa and... You are a bot, aren't you? One moment. Give me a second, guys. I'm just about to torment a bot. Mm-hmm. Give me a second, guys. If you're not a bot, I apologize. But I think you are. So yeah. Powerhouse does a lot of work. It's just not... If it was faster, it would be cracked, right? Or, do you know what I think I'm surprised this mon doesn't get? Which I think actually, Iron Moth doesn't get it either. So, if I was Game Freak, and I had been building these mons, which, to be entirely fair, may have made both of them broken, I would have given, which, to be honest, they might do it in the future, right? I will say. The bits that they might do. Slitherwing might get Victory Dance, and Iron Moth might get Quiver Dance. I think they could do it if they bring him back in the future, which I think would be quite cool. Because basically, obviously, what's Volcarona known for? Quiver Dance, right? Volcarona, really well known for Quiver Dance. It's the Quiver Dance mon, right? There's a lot of other mons which get it, but Volcarona is the one that made it noteworthy. It's a really powerful Pokemon, gets Quiver Dance, is just good typing. Like, Bug Fire is a pretty good typing, generally. Great design, good moves, it's the works. Whereas, Slitherwing is good. I wish it just isn't quite good enough. It is very cool, though. Where do I give it? I like it a lot. Yeah, I'll give you A. I'll give you A tier. I do really like it. I wish it was better. It's just not that good. Monstra's attack stat, though, if anything gets the attacks off, it's going to rip through things. Unfortunately, that's its problem. It's slow. But it's not slow enough to be a Trick Room mon, but it's not fast enough to do anything outside Trick Room either, if that makes sense. So, see, it kind of pigeonholes it into this really weird spot. Sorry, I've got something stuck in my fucking teeth. Yeah, it unfortunately pigeonholes it into a really bizarre spot that just doesn't do a lot, sadly. But I like its design so much that I've got to put it in A tier. That's one of the ones that it is worse than Volcarona. I will say, it's worse than Volcarona, but as a standalone mon, it's still very good. It's a respectable one. It's one of those ones. Just because a mon is worse than the original doesn't necessarily make it bad, unless it's so much abysmally worse. Like, if it feels like an insult to the mon, I'll give it a much lower score, rather than one it's like, it feels like an homage. It didn't quite nail what they were going for, but it's still cool. Like, it's a good attempt. And that's what I always rank Slitherwing as. I think it's a cool attempt. You didn't land it, but you made something unique that is pretty cool still. Now, Sandy Shocks. Sandy Shocks. People know this about me. I don't like Sandy Shocks. I think Sandy Shocks is a bad design. I don't like it at all. It looks dumb. It's okay in a battle. Like, it's pretty good. But it's just not that interesting, and it's kind of dull. Magnezone is a cool mon, I will say. I prefer... Actually, no, it's Magneton. It's Magneton. It's based on Magneton. I kind of wish they'd have gone Magnezone vibe with it, which would have been cooler. But they went with this weird caveman kind of vibe, which I just don't really get. I'm going to be honest. It gives us static electricity. This is the one that I think they should have just done a different Pokemon outright. They did not need to do a Magneton Paradox. I wish this was something else. What would I have done instead, actually? Like, fairly-ish mon. Maybe Gen 1. Let's assume Gen 1. Okay. You wanted something that was a dual type, so you could change one of its types, because that's one of the things the Paradoxes have. They either have a dual type, they either give it a second type, or they change one of the types to something that's appropriate. What would I go for? I don't think there's a Paradox of this type, either. So it would have fit. Yeah. I would have done probably, like, Arbok. Or something like that. Like, a poison type, maybe. Maybe a Vileplume. A Vileplume Paradox could have been a really cool one. I suppose they would have done Vileplume because there's already Brute Bonnet. And it's kind of too similar. But I genuinely think there was so many better options. Kangaskhan could have been kind of cool. It got a Mega, though, so maybe not. But I suppose Tyranitar got a Paradox mod and it's got a Mega, so... I don't know. I just think there were better choices for Gen 1 Pokemon. Spearow, actually. Like, Pharaoh? A Paradox Pharaoh? That'd be kind of cool, right? I don't think that Sandy Shocks is a good mod at all. I don't like it. It's probably the lowest thing on this list. I actively dislike it. This is the closest to an E tier we've got on this list. It's not an E tier, to be fair. It is entirely D. I just don't like it. But, you know, don't really work. However, we've got... This is by far... Also, it's by far the worst of the past Paradox mod. It is the only sour note, I'd say, of the past Paradox mods. All the others are brilliant. They're all really good. But this one, it's the only one that I would say is so much worse that it feels like an insult to all the others. Like, the other Paradox mods. Not even the original. It's an insult to Magneton, don't get me wrong. But it's such a massive insult to the other Paradox mods that it exists, to me. In the context of Paradox mods, as its own standalone mod, it's fine, I guess. It would be C tier. In I think it was C tier in the ground electric type list. Or it might have been D in those as well. I don't really remember. The electric type tier list had a lot of D's in the D tier, so yeah, it might have only gained C tier electric types, but yeah, I do not like Sandy Shocks at all. It's one of the two mons that I'd say are insults to the original of the Paradox mons. Genuinely. I think the others, every other one is at least an homage in an interesting way to one of the original mons that they were based after. This one's an insult. Sandy Shocks is an insult. You will get to the other one a little bit later. Roaring Moon! Now, Roaring Moon, everybody knows Salamence is my fourth favourite Pokemon. So, obviously, I do think that Roaring Moon is a little bit worse than Salamence. But it's not a lot in it, because I do also love Roaring Moon a lot. My other most used Paradox mon, I will say, mostly in Pokerogue. Roaring Moon is my Pokerogue ace. Well-known fact. Roaring Moon and Reshiram have gotten me through a lot of various runs. I've just used them a lot on them. Mostly because it took me so long to get Rayquaza. But Roaring Moon is a phenomenal Pokemon. He's an absolute beatstick. He's very efficient as well. He's got the second highest attack of any of the Paradox mons, only beaten out by Iron Hands by 1. Because they're all the future Paradox mons are kind of more rounded numbers. Whereas the prehistoric ones are more like raw power, kind of mishmashed, chaosy, as you'd expect natural monsters to do. Roaring Moon is my favourite of the regular Paradox mons, I will definitely say that. Competing tied with the other two, though. I'd say that those top 3 are pretty much equal with each other. I absolutely love all 3 of them. But it's hard to argue with the dragon, for me. I love the lore, I love how powerful they are, I love how they vibe and how they work. They're just great. They're all very, very cool, and you can see how they'd have, like, turned into the other mons. That's another bit which I really like. You can see the direct homage of how they're cool and why they're really good. Because of what they're just based around, right? They have taken the mon, made it prehistoric, right? And it works on all 3 of them. They are the best done Paradox mons outright. Now, Iron Treads. I will say, Iron Treads, if Great Tusk didn't exist, you would be significantly higher in my estimations. You are still better than Donphan. I like Donphan. I've said this before. I do really like Donphan. But the problem that we've got is that since there's 2 different Donphan versions, you have to compare them against each other. And while I do think Iron Treads is great, it's a really good design. It kind of looks like a Dyson Hoover mixed with a washing machine, mixed with an elephant, which is kind of funny. and it's got the big tank tread over it. It's great. Iron Treads is really cool. Unfortunately, they just peaked with Great Tusk. That's the problem we've got. It's great. It is. It's an amazing design. It's just, you've got to compare it to Great Tusk. And it's just not as cool as Great Tusk. So, I'm sorry, Iron Treads. You're only getting the top of A tier. I'm sorry. You're an amazing mon. And you definitely deserve it, but A tier is great. A tier is really good. Don't get it wrong at all. A is amazing. And yeah, it's a really cool mod. I really do like it. It's just not as cool as Great Tusk. Bundle! Bundle. The fastest Paradox mod. Actually faster than Flutter Main. Not by a lot, but it is faster. Ridiculously fast. This thing is a nightmare. I have fought against Iron Bundle a couple of times. It's always scary. I actually went up against... the first time I encountered Iron Bundle was... I didn't know what it was at the time. It was I think it was a first pick by one of the strongest competitors in our Pokemon Draft League, right? I picked Iron Bundle first, which makes sense, right? Iron Bundle is terrifying. It's very, very strong. And, excuse me. It hits very hard, it's very fast. It's actually got pretty good defense. It's got bad special defense, I will say, so it's not super tanky, but it can definitely take a physical hit. Water Ice isn't a great typing, but it's not bad. Also, it's a massive improvement of Delibird. Delibird's a terrible one, let's be honest. As goofy and kind of fun as it is. Bundle is just really good. They made a good Delibird, which on its own earns it A tier, right? Bundle is a comfortable A tier. I don't like it personally myself, but what it represents is big. And I like what it represents. Because they literally took one of the worst Pokemon ever that has almost no redeeming factors and turned it into one of the most broken Pokemon ever that has every redeeming factor. So, I like it. And that's the thing that I think a lot of the alternate forms should do, right? I think a lot of the alternate forms should take from a Pokemon that's kind of like lesser known, not amazing, or like okay in its own right. Which admittedly is pretty much all of them, with the exception of the Volcarona siblings. Which are taking a Greatmon. And Salamence, I guess. Roaring Moon is based on Salamence, which is already a decent mon. Very good mod of being a pseudo-legendary dragon, but one of the ones that's like, it's not used as much. There are ways to use it, and it's obviously, there are plenty of options for it. But, there's only so much, right? There's so many power Pokemon, and power creep exists, right? But yeah. Taking a terrible mod and upgrading it to be really good, yeah, that's a good bit. Iron Hands! Head of the Iron Hands with these big Iron Hands. Iron Hands is great. Compared to Hariyama, I do like Hariyama a lot. Don't get me wrong. But Iron Hands kind of like clicks. It's one of my favorite electric types. I talked about this quite a bit in the electric type video. Iron Hands is sweet. I wish it had better electric moves. But it's a great mod. I like what it does as well. Like, it's a very straightforward mod. It's very slow, hits really hard, and has massively high physical defense and health. Right? Pretty clear-cut what it does. You give it an Assault Vest as well to give it good special defense. You're really cooking with this mod. I personally like the Assault Vest build. I've seen a lot of people do like Belly Drum sets or Sword Stance sets with it, which are really good, don't get me wrong. I personally wouldn't do that, though. I would kind of use it as a brawler with Fake Out. Would probably be my way to do it. Like, Assault Vest it, max health, max attack, adamant nature, just brute strength things. Like, it hits hard. You're gonna be obviously kind of weak to knockoff, but honestly, you've got close combat. You're a fighting type, and you can probably do a good bit of damage to whatever's gonna knock you off. Because you're using, basically, they're using the knockoff to get rid of your special defense weakness, in which case you're gonna drop to a special attack. Which, unless your mon is double, like, slow mon, like, unless you got a really, really, really fast knockoff mon, like a Weavile or something. And then your special attacker is slow, but faster than Iron Hands, which is very slow, to be fair. It's probably not going to die that turn, even in a double battle. So, yeah, I think the Assault Vest set works really well. And you can fake something out, so you're very unlikely to drop. So you're probably taking at least, like, 2-3 turns to die, which is kind of cool. And it's good. And I do like Iron Hands a lot, because it can do a lot of damage in 3 turns. So I will give Iron Hands a very respectable S tier. Pretty low on the S tier, I will say. But I do genuinely like it a lot. I think it's a really, really good mod. It's really, really cool. Hoogulus, Iron Jugulus. Iron Jugulus is the other mon that I consider to be an insult to its original creation. Not necessarily in power. It's pretty good mon. Jugulus, I think, is about equivalent in power to Hydreigon. I think it doesn't hit quite as hard, but it's a bit faster. It's not as tanky, but it's, again, faster a little bit. Dog Flying's a good typing as well. Unfortunately, it just is so much worse than Hydreigon. It's such a crappy design that I just do not like at all. Ick. It loses the Dragon type as well, which I'm never a fan of in a mod. So, unfortunately, Hoogulus, you'll end up in D tier. It's a fine mon to use in battle. It's not nowhere near as good as Hydreigon for its versatility, though. Versatility, Hydreigon is very versatile with how you can run it. You can Specs it, you can Scarf it, you can Life Orb it and give it some, like, power moves. You can Assault Vest it, even, if you're assuming you're not going against any fairies. Obviously, Hydreigon's had some real power in the history with its crit build and things like that. Jugulus just doesn't do it. It's a terrible design in comparison. So yeah, not for me. Iron Moth, the satellite laser cannon itself. Again, not as cool as Volcarona. But I will comfortably say it is probably about equivalent with its past counterpart. I love the vibe. It's also pretty good. It's definitely better than Slitherwing in terms of competitive. But it basically does the Volcarona thing, but it does it worse. Right? It also dies to ground. It's got really high special attack. It's got good speed. Kind of squishy. Fire Poison is not a great type combo. Good for the offense, but not great on the defense, unfortunately. So it's not amazing to use in battle, but it's not bad. Its power makes up for it. It is just very direct in how it works. It just hits hard and fast. That's it. It doesn't really have any setup. It can't get Quiver Dance, but it's got Fiery Dance. So it gets some good stuff. It's just only okay, but I love its design. I love the wings. That's the big one for it. I do think, again, worse than Volcarona, but again, it's one of those ones, you tried something, it didn't quite work how you anticipated, but it's still cool. Right? And that's the big thing that both of these ones really represent. They are worse than originals, but they did a good homage to it. Unlike Iron Jugulus and Sandy Shocks, which I think are insults to original Pokemon. Now here's another one. Iron Thorns. Now Iron Thorns is well known to be really bad in battle. Another one of the arguably worst Paradox monsters in battle. Despite its pretty good stats, honestly. Because Rock Electric is a garbage type combo. It's just so bad. It contradicts themselves, and they share a weakness in ground, so it just kind of dies. However, I will say, they wanted to make Robo-Pokemon, and one of the first things they thought of was, we need to make a Mecha Tyranitar. And I respect that. It's got the same kind of bit that, Slitherwing and, Iron Moth have. Then it's not better than the original, but it's a respectable homage, and they literally just want to make Mechagodzilla, right? Also, I will say it is the only one of the future Paradoxes that shiny works. Because the shiny for Iron Thorns is just Kiryu, one of the Mechagodzillas. And if you know Kaiju, like me, you'll know that it's like, yeah, that works. The shiny is based on Kiryu, which is the silver shiny. It's the only mon that I think the silver shiny works for of the Paradox mons. Not that being a silver shiny is bad. I think silver can be a really good shiny color. But with the Paradox mons, all the future ones are the same kind of silver. It doesn't really work with them. But with Iron Thorns, it very much does work. I really like it. I actually have a shiny Iron Thorns that I asked a friend to catch for me because he has Violet. Basically, I only have Scarlet. But I know a good few friends who have it. And I specifically asked one, hey, you've got the evening free and you've got nothing to do and you wanted something to do. Do you mind grabbing me a shiny Iron Thorns? Because I just want to own one. And they went, yeah, sure, why not? So I have a shiny Iron Thorns. Love them on. Now, here's the next one. Iron Valiant, the androgynous version of Mega Gardevoir and Mega Gallade. I love it. I will say, I've said before about Iron Valiant. Iron Valiant is my favourite of the future Paradox mons, to be fair. Let's immediately put it where we know it's going to go. Probably about here. I do love Iron Valiant a lot. I have used it in competitive and it's very, very good. I like its vibe. I like its design. I love the polearm. The polearm's great. And I like the typing. Fighting Fairy's a cool type that I do kind of vibe with. And I love what they went with. They literally went, we're going to fuse together Gardevoir and Gallade and make it a robot version. So we're going to remove the psychic type that they both share and give them their unique types each mashed together. And give it very good physical attack and special attack. Not got the defense of its real forms. But, I've said before, I think Iron Valiant is worse than Gardevoir in terms of cool factor, but better than Gallade in terms of cool factor. So it is perfectly in the middle between the two. And I really like Valiant. Valiant is a cool mod. I like using it. I've used Expert Belt Iron Valiant a lot. In electric terrain was very fun, actually. High-speed electric terrain one. Oh, that's good. That just works. With Expert Belt to boost its special attack, super effective moves, specifically. Because this thing has some really good types for getting super effective hits. Fairy and Fighting are both excellent at dealing super effective damage to things. That's kind of what their specialties are. They're both very good offense types, which is a really nice setup to have. So, yeah. It is a very cool mod to use, and I love the design. So, yeah. Now we got the Paradox Legendaries, as I nicknamed them. They're kind of just Paradox mods, but they're some of the beefier Paradox mods, and they're all based on legendary Pokemon, with the exception of the two which are the actual Giga Chad legendaries of the types. So let's get with the Paradox Beasts first, which I absolutely adore all three of them. I've regularly said that I think all three of them are significantly superior to their original forms. I don't mind the Johto Beasts. I think the Johto Beasts are all very cool in their own respects. But the Paradox Beasts are just a step above, I'm gonna be honest. Not just because they add the Dragon type, because they're fucking dinosaurs is a big one. They are a Sauropod, a Ceratopsian, and a Theropod. They all just work really, really well. They're all really good and really fun to use. I have used all three of these to various degrees. Walking Wake, the Paradox Suicune, the Theropod Water type, which they all represent something very cool as well. Walking Wake represents, this is the water type you use on Sun teams, right? It's a water type that's specifically designed to be used on Sun teams because its signature ability, obviously it gets power boost in the Sun, which is always good, and its special attack, its signature move, which I believe is Hydro Steam, I think is its move. It's something like that. Is the only water move that ignores the Sun water damage reduction, and it actually gets a power boost in the Sun as if it was a fire move. Which is really cool. So it's actually a water type you can use on Sun teams, which is really cool. It's a water dragon type, which is a great type combo as well. So, big points to it. Gouging Fire. The combination of my two favorite types in Pokemon, Fire and Dragon. Dragon being my favorite type in Pokemon, Fire being my second favorite type, well known. I love it. It's big and bulky with a massive physical attack. It is pretty much exactly. It's a powerhouse mon. it exemplifies what Fire Dragon is good at. It's very durable, and it hits hard. There is nothing that resists both types, for reference, in the entirety of Pokemon. The only chance you've got... In fact, there's only one mon, I think, in existence that actively resists the stab from this mon. One. And it's Heatran. But guess what? Gouging Fire learns Earthquake, which Heatran is quad weak to. That is a combo. That is the triple combo. I guess it's technically walled by a Heatran with Air Balloon. But, yeah, who cares? Gouging Fire is a fantastic mod. I absolutely love it. I love its design as well. It's fucking huge, which is also great. It just works. And then Raging Bolt. A lot of people say that Raging Bolt looks dumb. I personally disagree. I love the giant sauropod look. It's a Brachiosaur, which I've always had a soft spot for. The big clouds around its head mean it's reaching into the sky. It's a bit basically the Thunderclap. Thunderclap is one of my favorite moves in Pokemon as well. I love it. Sucker Punch, but electric and special. It's another one of those very powerful, slow, special attackers with priority. As I've said, I like slow, bulky mons that hit really hard with priority. I like it. So all three of these are instant S tier, probably just behind my front runners as well. But all three of these are equivalent with each other. I love all three of them so much. I can't pick between those three. I've said that before. I love all three of these mon. I have a hard time picking between the three of them because I like them all for different reasons. But I love all three of them. So yeah, they're all going up there. As for the Paradox swords, they're not as cool. Now, I will say I don't mind them. They're all actually quite good. The Swords of Justice themselves are all fine. But I've talked about this before on the Legendary tier list. I've never been the biggest fans of any of them. They're all alright. I like the Musketeers better. I like the original stories better. But hey, they did alternate forms of them, so they're alright. I don't mind any of them. I will say, these three are all getting B tier. They're all cool. Right. Iron... Yeah, Iron Valiant. That's no, it's not Iron Valiant. It's Iron... What is your name? Iron Cabalion is what I wanted to say, but I know that's not right. Iron Crown, that was it. Iron Crown is probably my favorite of the three. It is very cool. It's got Tachyon Cutter, which is a really cool move. I love Tachyon Cutter. It's a fun, interesting vibe for a mon. They basically went special, bulky, Psychic Steel type, right? Which, weirdly enough, I don't think there's many pure special attacking Psychic Steel types, which is kind of an interesting concept. Because you assume it would be, but no, Metagross is run physically. Like, Metagross is a physical attacker. Bronzong is defensive. You guess you can run it specially, but usually use it for just durability, right? So you can run it. You can run it mixed or supporty or whatever. I'm trying to think of another Psychic Steel type. There is more. Oh yeah, Solgaleo and Duskmane Necrozma. They're physical mons. I'm trying to think if there's any more Psychic Steel types. Jirachi, you can run Jirachi either way, but I think most people run it physical because Ironhead Serene Grace is too good. Yeah. Yeah, it's just weird that it's one of the few types that combos with Psychic that isn't special attacky that often. So, yeah, it's cool to see it, and it's a fun mon to use. I don't mind using it. It is pretty entertaining. So, I will give it a solid B tier. Iron Boulder is good. It's super fast. Hits very hard. Psychic Rock is a good offensive pairing. I will definitely give it that. But it has a big weakness. It's super fast. It's really fast as well. The design's okay. I think I kind of prefer Terrakion to it, though. It's kind of alright. I don't mind it particularly, but... it only gets B. It gets good. Because I think they are all good. Actually, are these C tier? Yeah, you know what? They're getting C tier. All of these mods are getting C tier. Actually, no. Those two are getting C tier because they are cool. I actually just realized, as terrible as it is in battle, I actually like Virizion. Iron Virizion, so Iron Leaves. I like its design. Genuine about it. It gets barely scrapes into B tier because it's got a good design. It's a really bad Pokemon, though. You can use it, certainly, but unfortunately, quad weak to bug is painful. It's not got good durability. It's got okay attack, but it doesn't hit high enough to really make do for it. You can make it work in interesting ways, though, and I will give it that. I also like Psyblade. It's weird also about that mon. It's the only one of the Paradox Swords that's signature move isn't their primary typing, which is weird. It's primary Grass with Psychic secondary typing. Like, all of them are. Like, Iron Crown is Steel primary, and Boulder is Rock primary. All the other two, Tachyon Cut is a Steel move, and Mighty Cleave is a Rock move. But Psyblade, I think it's called, is Psychic, which is kind of interesting, you know? I guess because Leaf Blade's already a move, right? It didn't really need one. So, yeah. Anyway, now for the big ones. Two of the most powerful Pokemon ever made. Koraidon and Miraidon, the Paradox Apexes, or the Paradox Legendaries, or the Bicycles, as you could call them. I do love both of these mons a lot, but let's face it, I love Koraidon a lot. I adore using this thing. I will say, by the way, just for you know, a lot of these mons are my top 25. None of them are in my top 10. Even Koraidon, I love Koraidon a lot. But none of them makes my top 10 because they're close. They are very close. Which I do say, I like Roaring Moon, but Roaring Moon is a weird spot for me. All three of them are in a bit of a weird spot for me because it's based on a mon I love more. But it's hard to argue. I like using the regular mons a bit more. Often. But Koraidon's just great, right? I love Koraidon. I love using it. Orichalcopulse is so fun. I also have a fun theory about Koraidon that it was originally intended to be Fire Dragon. He was supposed to be Dragon Fire type. Because obviously, Koraidon, Miraidon being Dragon Electric, makes it particularly powerful because it's boosted up by its own terrain. And there's no crazy weaknesses. And I realized that Koraidon was probably also meant to be Fire Dragon. Until they realized a Fire Dragon Koraidon would be the most powerful Pokemon ever made. Just outright. It's so absurdly powerful already as a Dragon Fighting type. Which is a good type combo, don't get me wrong. Dies really hard to Fairy, though. Gives it a quad weakness. Because of that, Miraidon ends up, I think, being slightly more powerful out of the two. However, if Koraidon had been a Dragon Fire type, it would have been stronger than Miraidon by a fairly significant factor, I think. Because there's no way to counter it. And a Flare Blitz in the sun, physical attackers are really scary. There's a reason Intimidate exists, not for special attack yet, right? Physical attackers can be absolutely devastating in the right situations. And with a sun boost, Dragon Fire is a stronger type than Dragon Electric. Because Dragon Fire actually complements the Dragon weaknesses better than Electric. It gains the fire weaknesses of Ground and Rock, which is painful, don't get me wrong. But countering Fairy and Ice on a Dragon type is more important than you'd think. Because people run Fairy and Ice to deal with dragons. Usually. And that's the thing you gotta remember. Miraidon is weak to Fairy and Ice, so people immediately switch into the Fairy type, usually. Assuming that you are going to go for a Dragon move, right? It's got a hard time doing that against Koraidon, because it's not guaranteeing one-hit kill, because Fairy isn't super effective against it, which often means you're going to have to bust out your Ground type, which doesn't resist or immune. Or you're going to have to bust out another dragon. Something that's actively weak to the dragon move that might be coming in. So, or the rock move. Like, the rock types are always an option. Which is a good shout. But, are you guaranteeing you're going to kill the rock type move? Because a lot of the rock type moves aren't that accurate. So, there's always a bit more of a risk going into a fire type, going into a dragon fire type than there is a dragon electric type. There's ways around it. Dragon electric, obviously, great typing as well. But I think fire dragon is a bit stronger. I will say I do love Miraidon as well. Miraidon is absolutely fantastic. Significantly less than Koraidon, but still a massive S tier mon. I do love it a lot. The Thunder Serpent is cool. Iron Serpent, I believe is its technical term. Like, if you go by the names of the Paradox mons, they all are certain things, like it's Roaring Moon, Flutter Mane, Great Tusk, that kind of stuff. But Koraidon and Miraidon have their own unique names, which is legendary ones. But if you go by their own Paradox naming convention, Koraidon is Winged King, and Miraidon is Iron Serpent, which are very appropriate names for the pair of them, and they are both very, very cool. Obviously, their abilities are broken beyond imagining. But yeah. That is all we got time for today. Oh, also, for reference, Electric is counted a little more by there being an immunity, right? So in theory, a Fairy Ground type just hard walls Koraidon. It won't, because you always bring, like, Overheat and things. But it, in theory, hard walls it with double immunity. Fire Dragon has no switching. Just outright. As I said, the only thing that stops it is a Heatran. In which case, just run Earthquake. Or in Koraidon's case, a fighting move. Yeah. It's hard to wall this mon. Which is why Koraidon would be stronger. Also, Koraidon being unable to be burned because fire type would be scary. But yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be back on tomorrow playing a dumb game that a friend of mine recommended I try. So, yeah, we're doing something silly tomorrow. But it should be fun with Pokemon. As for Wednesday, Christmas Day, I will be... Oh, also, I might be very tired and might have a nap, and I might be late tomorrow, just as a heads up. In case my parcel turns up early and I can actually go and see my dad on Christmas Eve, which would be a good plan. Yeah. We'll see how it goes for stream. But I should be streaming tomorrow. I will be streaming Christmas Day for a good chunk of the day. I will be streaming Hollow Cure. We're going to be making a good bit of progress towards making all of our characters Oshi. I do have a bit of a sore throat still, yes. So just bear that in mind. So if I have to be a bit shorter on the stream, or if it's just a normal length stream. Or it'll be longer for a Wednesday stream, I suppose, because we've not got... It's Christmas Day. I doubt we're running Pathfinder. But yeah. So there is that. Thursday, I will be in. Yeah, 26th. 26th, I'm pretty sure I'm in. I might head out for a bit on the 26th. I might be seeing my sister on that day. But we'll see for that one. Friday, don't know. Couldn't tell you on Friday. Actually, no, I'm not streaming on Friday outright because we've not got Altera. So yeah, I will be either taking the day off or I will be busy seeing family on the Friday. So yeah. And then next week we have the last 2 streams of the year. I will do a little New Year stream, nothing too crazy. In theory, this is all assuming that I actually have a working PC. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Have a fantastic evening, every single one of you. Keep playing video games. Keep you awesome. You guys all the best for Twitch. Enjoy yourselves, guys. Have a lovely day and a fantastic, fantastic evening. This is my tier list. I love the Paradoxes and the Ultrabeasts, so they're all fun. Yeah. Have a fantastic evening. Good night.